Welcome to tonight's episode of Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, and as always, I have a very special guest for you, candidate for Brooklyn DA, Ms. Patricia Gatling. She'll be with us for the next 30 minutes, so stay with us. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Beyond Focus TV allows you to discuss contemporary topics affecting the Caribbean people on both a national and local level. The show features informed guests who offer insight, debate, and evaluate various issues. Beyond Focus TV builds on the station's mission to provide useful information to the Caribbean people in New York and abroad. Beyond Focus TV, where our viewing audience can get educated, informed, and empowered. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. And like I said, the race is on for Brooklyn DA, and we have somebody in the hot seat tonight, Patricia Gatling. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here, and the race is definitely on September 12th.
It's on. 3 weeks left.
3 weeks. And I know we were saying offline, you have to start campaigning early.
We started in December. I was the first to announce. And so I've had a team, and we've been going since December. We've been going to the churches and the senior centers and the birthday parties and events. And so we've been around Brooklyn a lot. And, I had forgotten how big Brooklyn is. We sort of stay in the part that we live in, and, we don't really venture out that much. It's a huge, huge county, and there are just so many different communities, and I guess that's what makes Brooklyn so great. It's really been fun kind of going to these different little pockets of communities and people and groups and visiting with them and finding out what's really important to them.
And that is something that's very important, is to actually take the time to go and really speak to the people. And I think a lot of politicians, as much as they say they do, the DA running for Brooklyn DA, you have to touch everywhere. It's not just I'm district so-and-so and I could just stay in my district.
That's right. No, it's countywide. And what we find is, everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to be able to go to the store and get on the subway and not worry about crime and not worry. We were talking about property values going down. But there are kind of some themes that are consistent. People are worried about the overdevelopment in Brooklyn and sort of the over-gentrification.
Yes.
And that's countywide. I mean, I go in Sheepshead Bay, they talk about it, where they're building apartment buildings here. And, we never used to have these sort of high buildings in this area. And then, of course, in Bed-Stuy and East New York and different places in the Heights. And people are worried about Brooklyn becoming cost prohibitive, that they won't be able to continue to live in the borough that they love because people are coming in who, can afford to pay, $12,000 a month when, I live in this community and I pay $1,000 a month. And then what kinds of stores are going to come into? And so it's kind of interesting, the things that they talk to, a candidate for district attorney about. But I think it speaks to what you were saying, is that they don't get to see all these other electeds. They're seeing me because I'm out there and I'm on the stump, and they're seeing me at the subways or their churches, and so they can approach me and they can talk to me about some issues that I might not directly impact, but I sort of impact in some kind of fashion.
Absolutely.
Maybe not directly, but what we do as prosecutors, and certainly as a district attorney, impacts on everything. Brooklyn is there are three. It's one of the fastest growing economies in the city of New York. Entertainment, in the hotels, and I guess the service industry, and technology. Those are the three largest industries that are growing in New York City, and they're growing here in Brooklyn.
It's amazing.
So we will be like Atlanta and have all the hip-hop groups recording here in Brooklyn,
There you go.
And that's a great thing, and it's good, but we've also got to remember we have traditional communities and traditional groups and all kinds of income here in Brooklyn, and we've got to remember that they have a right to live here too.
I love that, and that actually means a lot to hear someone say that, because a lot of people feel priced out.
They do, and they feel beat up, kind of, and they're very worried about what's going to happen to them as they age. Certainly our seniors have been under attack, just sort of generally. I don't know what's going on in the world that people think they can, go and take advantage of our most vulnerable people. But and they're not being protected enough. And as district attorney, I mean, that's one of my plans, is to create a senior protective unit to not only educate and work with seniors wherever we find them, either if they're nursing home or if they're in their homes, where but so that they have basically. They're going to add the district attorney to their social network. So they don't have to just depend on relatives or depend on friends. They're going to be able to talk to us about different issues. I mean, I plan to hire an elder lawyer and somebody who understands Medicare and Medicaid, because we're finding that they're losing their homes oftentimes when they go into the hospital or when they go into nursing homes, and they may not have been prepared to sell them, or in their rehabilitation. They're signing documents that they're not aware of, and people are taking advantage of that. And not only the ones who are living in brownstones, but the seniors who are living in co-ops and condos and nice buildings and people. So there are all kinds of scams. I mean, there are computer scams targeting seniors. And so our seniors, they need, our protection. So on their doors, just like you on some buildings, you'll see ADT is here, and that means don't come. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? You're going to have the district, this senior is in this senior protective program. If you need to contact them, then contact us. Kind of really sort of like amazing. An ADT sign that says, yes. District attorney. And, just by having that sign, just like the ADT sign, whether it's working or not, you think it is. You know what I mean? It to act as a deterrent and to really aggressively educate and identify where our seniors are and who's being victimized in what communities, so we can gather some data, because data is key, and really know what's going on with them, and how we can best serve them.
Well, that's one important factor, because we have a unit for children, we have stuff for underage children. That's right. So I definitely think that's an awesome thing to have in place, and I would love to see that actually come to pass, because I think we need that.
Well, they say societies are judged by how they treat their children and how they treat the elders, and these are our elders. They're the ones who stayed true to Brooklyn all through those 90s and 70s and 60s when Brooklyn wasn't the Brooklyn that we see and love today. Every time I ride by the Barclays Center, I'm like, whoo, it's astounding. I mean, where I live in Brooklyn now was an area that wasn't so much a high crime area as it was just sort of desolate. There wasn't really anything going on, and now they have all these buildings and City Point, and it's so that's good. But then again, they're moving out into communities, and development can be a good thing, but development has to be managed, and these and unscrupulous developers have to be prosecuted, and we need to have a unit, a civil litigation unit, that's going to address these issues of people losing their homes, landlords that are kicking people out without notice, and violating all kinds of landlord-tenant laws and regulations, and then the unscrupulous people who are fraudulent, stealing deeds, signing names, home scams, because we've got to protect people. They've got to be able to live in their homes, and if they are in fear of losing them, then we're not doing our job. And so we're going to aggressively go after unscrupulous developers.
That is really, really good. And I'm so excited that this actually is in play, and hopefully, come September 12th, we'll be able to.
September 13th? Woohoo!
13th, there'll be a celebration. But we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, sitting here with candidate for District Attorney, Brooklyn DA. Coming up, the big race is fast approaching, Pat Gatling. So, of course, what we were saying offline before, Brooklyn is changing, and we need to have somebody in power who's actually going to understand how this is moving forward. How to address the different issues, how to address the different faces of Brooklyn now. There's a lot of transplants. There's a lot of people from different parts of
The world,
right
East
here
New
in
York,
Brooklyn.
the Bangladeshi community. I was with them last night at their community celebration that they have 1 year. And I just learned there are 500,000 Bangladeshis here in New York City. It's a large number.
That is.
And so it's a growing community, and they're a growing political community, and they're organizing and they're actively engaged, and a large sector in East New York, right on the border of Queens, and so they're going to have to participate too. And so one of the things you do in the DA's office is you create all these different structures for communities to have access. And so we hire lawyers from the Bangladeshi community. We have religious councils, that include, Muslims and Sikhs and Muslims from all different areas, and then, Jewish communities and different Jewish communities and even the Christian community, they're different. And so we have to make sure that they have access and equal access like all communities. And the way to do that is to work under different councils, and so that I'm in contact with them, oftentimes, and that they have someone that they know they can reach out to in the office if they can't get me, because I have an open door policy, and I work in 2 cell phones, and so when I'm district attorney, I don't plan to change, and but that they can have access, and people really want to be able to know that their representatives, whether you're the district attorney or your council member, is somebody that they can actually talk to.
That's very important.
You got to be able to talk to somebody. And so I'll go out in the community at meetings that they propose, or I'll have them and I'll set them up. And then we go to places where people are working, and can I take 5 minutes during your lunch hour to talk to a group about what's going on if we need to. And so we will be actively engaged in the community, and not only just talking about our programs, but talking to the community about creating the programs that they think we need to have. I know that I'm a big proponent of school prevention, and so I believe that we need to work closely with our schools and our teachers and our administrators and with parents and families, so that we can prevent them from ever having any exposure in the criminal justice system.
Right.
And the way to do that is we've got to help families, navigate oftentimes. You might have a child that has some kind of health issue or mental health issue. How can we be of service and make sure that you're connected to that service? And some people would say, oh, that's social work, but that's what we do. And we will have social workers in the office, and we will connect people to different city services that are offered, and to private services that are offered, because the DA is a good place for everybody to come together.
Yes.
City, private, non-governmental or non-for-profit. It's just a good place for all of that to happen, so that we can keep Brooklyn safe, and that we can also expand our community outreach, so that we don't our numbers, we won't have to worry about prosecuting. Not that we won't do it, but we should try and not do it.
Of course, if you could prevent something from happening, but of course there'll be a few that slip through the crack, and
Look,
then
this is what we do. We prosecute, and like I tell people, there are some people who are going to have to go to jail, and that's just the bottom line. We won't be able to have them change.
Can't save everybody.
And they're going to have to go to jail, and they will, and we can do that. But that being said, when they get out of jail, if they had what I used to call a come to Jesus meeting, then okay.